Welcome to Legal Skill channel. If you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe the channel, like the video and comment below about the video. So in this video, I will explain about basic of merger and amalgamation. So let's start. So chapter 15 of the Companies Act 2013 deals with the merger and amalgamation of the companies from section 230 to 240 of the Companies Act. In this chapter, it deals with compromises, arrangement and amalgamation of the companies. Further, these sections also talk about format of making application, form of notice, what are the procedure involved. Now, now look at this diagram. There are two type of acquisition. The first is merger and amalgamation and the second is takeover. Merger and amalgamation is given under section 230 and 232 of the Companies Act, and amalgamation is given under 235, 236 and 238 of the Companies Act. Now section 233 talks about fast track merger. 234 talks about cross-border merger, means merger of foreign companies with Indian companies or Indian companies with foreign companies. 237 talks about government order of merger of companies in public interest, like merger of Allahabad Bank into Indian Bank. Section 239 talks about preservation of books and account, and section 240 talks about liability and penalty in case of non-compliance of the order of the tribunal. Now let's first talk about compromise. Compromise basically means adjustment of the company's dues with the creditor. Now let's talk about amalgamation. Amalgamation is the arrangement or reconstruction of a companies. It is a legal process by which two or more companies are joined to form a new entity, or one or more companies are absorbed or blended with another. As a consequence, the amalgamation company loses its existence and shareholder becomes the shareholder of the new company or amalgamated company. So these are the two examples. Now let's see this second example. Here X is a transferor company and Y is a transferor company, and these two companies are transferring all their asset and liabilities and shareholding to the third company, that is Z company. So this is transferee company. So transferor company are those companies which transfer their asset, liabilities and shareholder pattern to the transferee company. In the second example, we are seeing that two companies are merging to form a third company. In the first example, we have seen one company, that is XY Limited, is merging with Y company. The X Limited is called transferor company, the Y Limited is called transferee company. Now let's talk about demerger. So X Limited company has three business, that is A1 soap business, A2 food business and A3 cement manufacturing business. Now X Limited company transfer A1, that is soap business, to Y Limited company. So this is called demerger. Finally, X Limited company is left with food business and cement business. Here X is called demerged company and Y is called resulting company. So this is the case of demerger. It is different from merger. Now let's talk about transfer company. Means a company which is amalgamated into another company. Transferee company means a company into which the transfer company is amalgamated. So basically, when one company merges with another company, the transfer company always loses its existence, and the transferee company will have all the asset and liabilities and shareholder of the transfer company. Now let's talk about type of amalgamation. So amalgamation is of two types. The first is amalgamation in nature of merger and amalgamation in nature of purchase. So let's see the first one, amalgamation in nature of merger. In this case, all the asset and liabilities of the transfer company get transferred into transferee company. The shareholder of the transfer company will become the shareholder of the transferee company. All the business of the transfer company is continued with the transferee company. So this is called amalgamation in nature of merger. Now let's talk about amalgamation in nature of purchase. So you have to keep these 3 points in mind. First, the transfer of asset and liabilities of the transfer company becomes the asset and liabilities of the transferee company. Second, the shareholder of the transfer company does not become the shareholder of the transferee company. Third, all the business of the transfer company is discontinued. Now let's talk about difference in amalgamation in nature of merger and amalgamation in nature of purchase. In amalgamation in nature of merger, the shareholder of the transfer company becomes the shareholder of the transferee company. But it does not happen in case of amalgamation in nature of purchase. Also in amalgamation in nature of merger, all the business of the transfer company is continued. But here in the amalgamation in the nature of purchase, the business of the transfer company is discontinued. Now let's talk about amalgamation in nature of merger. So here all the asset and liabilities of the transfer company get transferred to the transferee company. The second point is the shareholder holding not less than 90% of the face value of the equity share of the transfer company become the equity share of the transferee company by virtue of amalgamation. So here 90% shareholder of the transfer company becomes the shareholder of the transferee company. Now let's see this example. Suppose X company has 1 lakh share and also Y company holds 10,000 share in X limited company. So 90% shareholder of the X limited company will become shareholder of the Y limited company. But this will not include the 10,000 share held in X limited company by Y limited company. So 90% of 90,000 is 81,000. So 81,000 shareholder of the X limited company will become shareholder of the Y limited company. Means 81,000 shareholder of the transfer company will become 81,000 shareholder of the transferee company. Now let's talk about third point. The consideration of the amalgamation receivable by those equity shareholder of the transfer company who agrees to become equity shareholder of the transferee company is discharged by the transferee company wholly by issue of equity share in the transferee company, except that may be paid in respect of any fractional share. So I am talking about the above example. So here 90% of the shareholder of the transfer company will get equity share in the transferee company, and case will only be paid in case of fractional share. So let's see this example. So X is a company having 100 share of 20 rupees each, and it has three shareholder, that is X, Y and Z. X has 33 share, Y has 33 share and Z has 34 share. The share of X limited is 20 rupee each, so it becomes 2000 rupee. Now Y limited is another company which has 100 share only of 10 rupee each, so its share become of 1000 rupee only. So we can see the shareholding. So we can see the share of X limited is of 2000 rupee and share of Y limited is of 1000 rupee. So upon merger, X will get 66 share, Y will get 66 share and Z will get 68 share, because this needs to be in proportion, because one share of X company becomes two share of Y company. So X company when merges with Y company, the shareholder of X company will get double share. Now suppose the share is given in a lot like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 in this way. So X will get 60 share and for 6 share he will get cash of 120. You can see again Y will get 60 share and 120 cash for remaining 6 share, and Z will also get 60 share and 160 rupees for cash for remaining 8 share, as Z has 8 share but he is getting 60 share, so the remaining 8 share he will get cash. Suppose there are dissenting shareholder of in X or any company or in transfer company, so we'll pay him in cash. The dissenting shareholder will always be paid in cash. Now let's talk about the fourth point. The business of transfer company is intended to be carried out after amalgamation with the transferee company. So in this case, the business is carried out. The business doesn't dissolve after amalgamation. Now let's talk about fifth point. No adjustment in the intended to be made to the book value of the asset and liabilities of the transferee company when they are incorporated in the financial statement of the transferee company except to ensure uniformity of accounting policy. So let's see this example. Suppose X Limited has 10 lakh asset, 10 lakh liability. Y Limited has 15 lakh asset, 15 lakh liability. Now upon merger of X Limited with Y Limited, the asset of Y Limited will be 25 lakh, liability will be 25 lakh. So you have to ensure uniformity regarding accounting policy. Otherwise, there will be no adjustment in the book values. Now let's talk about amalgamation in nature of purchase. Amalgamation in the nature of purchase is an amalgamation which does not satisfy any or more of the condition specified below. So if any of the condition of the amalgamation of nature of merger is not fulfilled, then it will be called amalgamation in nature of purchase. So let's see this again, amalgamation in nature of merger. So the first condition is all the asset liabilities of the transferor company will be transferred to the transferee company. Second, the shareholder holding not less than 90% of the face value of the equity share of the transferor company become the equity shareholder of the transferee company by virtue of amalgamation. So in the previous section, I've explained this example. You can revise the example again. Now let's see third point. The consideration of the amalgamation of the transferor company is to be paid by the transferee company in the equity share, not in cash. Cash will only be paid in case of fractional share. The example I have explained in the previous section. Kindly check the example again. The fourth point is the business of the transfer company is intended to be carried after the amalgamation with the transferee company. The fifth point is no adjustment is to be made in the book of values of the transferee company except to ensure uniformity in accounting policy. So if these five conditions are fulfilled, then it is amalgamation in nature of merger. If any of the condition is not fulfilled, then it is amalgamation in nature of purchase.